it's been a fascinating hobby. And I started back in basically 2015, around December, when I first bought Titans Return Galvatron, and have been collecting ever since. And I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I love it. You have a toy that's two different toys in itself. It's a puzzle, it's a robot, and it's also a vehicle.
Why do I love Transformers? I don't know. Nowadays it's because of the nostalgia. It's because of the storytelling element in me. It's because of the uniqueness of the idea and the dynamics of the characters. As a kid, I assume it was the action. I assume it was the voices. I assume it was, Starscream sniveling, Megatron's growling, or Optimus Prime's like heroics and kind of fatherly sort of, not advice really, but fatherly sort of stature. Grimlock's humor. I don't know. But I was hooked so young that now it almost doesn't matter what it was that started my love, because now, all these years later, I know that there's so much rich tapestry and layer upon layer, just like an onion, that's what I love. I love the epic nature of everything that can be, or the simplistic nature. You can go everything from, a cat caught in a tree on Rescue Bots, right up to the story of The One and the beginning of everything with Unicron and Primus and that whole, heaven and hell type of scenario and relationship. The depth of simplicity to complexity. It's very few franchises that can do that, and that have persevered long enough to do that. And I think that's exactly, because of that depth, I think that's exactly why I love this.
The reason why I love Transformers as an adult is because of the puzzle of transforming. Like, I will not look at the instructions until after maybe a half hour when I can't figure something out. Most recently, I was transforming Kingdom Black Arachnia, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get her backside to go over her breastplate. And then to find out that her waist actually snaps off and goes backwards. But I enjoyed the puzzle, but at some point I go, well, I don't want to break this. I need to look at instructions. But when I was a kid, it was the excitement of good guys versus bad guys, and these people, these Transformers, could transform from a vehicle to a bot and then combine together, which is a message true of why I like the series and pretty much everything. I really like the message of the good guys have to always win, and that cheaters don't prosper. The message is really inclusive, at least for the Autobots. The Decepticons, as long as you're working for them, they don't care who you are. But I mean, the Autobots message is always inclusive. And as a kid, I probably didn't appreciate it as much as I do as an adult now, because I really didn't pick up on those types of messages. You think you watched G.I. Joe and now you know, but was it really a lesson? I can say the same thing about Captain Planet. But as an adult, it's more about the puzzle aspect of it. But as a kid, it was about the story.
Why do I love Transformers? Well, again, it all goes back to nostalgia and being a kid. So as a kid, there were a few things that I really, really liked that hit my imagination buttons. Aliens, robots, and cars. Those three things were all hot buttons for me. I wanted anything to do with something from outer space, anything to do with robots and cars. Just, that's how it was. That's what I wanted for Christmas, birthday, whatever, were those three things. And Transformers comes out, and now you get the chance to see alien robot cars. So it was a win-win for me. The idea of these cool sports cars turning into robots that come from outer space, fighting this war. Are you kidding me? I was roped in right away. It's everything 10-year-old me wanted in one series. And at the time, I thought the animation was brilliant. I think most of it still holds up, despite obviously the errors that we laugh at now. The movie was fantastic. The toys were, and they even though they're bricks now, they they were just fun to play with. You could roll around and, vroom a car around on the floor or fight robots. It was genius. I think it was probably one of the most ingenious things that could happen at the time for me. And I was hooked. I was all in. And then fast forward to old me, and everything that I want is pretty much something that takes me back to a time when you didn't have to care about all the stuff that was going on in the world. And it's a nice way to hit that reset button and realize that there was a time where all you had to really worry about was playing, using your imagination, and you were a little bit more carefree. You had no idea what your parents were stressing out about or why. You saw the world through these toy colored glasses, and I can't live in that world anymore, but by God, I can buy a few things and get a few things that remind me that it existed. And that's why I collect. That's why I still love Transformers and always will. And what a great time to be a collector with everything that's going on. I look forward to years from now when whole new generations come up, and 60 years at the anniversary, Lord willing, if I'm here, that, I get to look back, an old gray-haired man looking back at some kid and tell him, those aren't my Transformers. Oh, mine were better, whatever. But I love it. And I love the community that I've gotten to know in the meantime, folks like you and everyone else in this little film, and the people that I've met through the community. It's all priceless to me. Something little plastic robots has brought together such a cool group of people that I never would have known otherwise. And I don't believe in accidents, so I think it's all, I don't want to say for a reason, but whatever it is, I'm grateful for it and wouldn't change a thing.
Now, as part of this video, I'm supposed to talk about why I love the Transformers so much. And I might get a little preachy, and I'm sorry about that, but Transformers is about, when you get down to the basics of Transformers, okay, it is about change. The change in us all. Every moment of our life, from birth to death, every single moment, we change as people. We are not who we were yesterday. We are not who we were a year ago, 10 years ago. We are not that person anymore. We change. Just like the Transformers change. Look at the iterations from then, from 1984, of those characters, to who they are now and how they are portrayed in the media, be it television, movies, comics, or whatnot. The characters you knew and grew up with are not the same as they were then. And for good or ill, that's good, because that's change. That's what transformation is. It goes from one thing to another. And we consistently transform ourselves. And that's what I love about the series. I love the development of the rush towards, something either evil or good, the constant struggle that's there, even in ourselves, in our own heads. We do this every day. When we wake up in the morning, what are your first thoughts of? Is what you're going to accomplish today, how much you love someone, whatever it is. That's transformation. You change. We all change. And we as a community need to stand together with those changes. And holds and binds us all together, because we're just human beings, and each of us represents an individual part of a greater whole. And I love Transformers because of that, because it's representative of that. Maybe not in a literal sense, but a metaphysical sense, it is very representative of what I believe in, is that we are all a small part of a greater whole.
I've been a fan of the Transformers since day one, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I'll admit, it amazes me, here it is 35 years later, that I can still walk down a toy aisle and see Transformers hanging on the shelf. And I'm going to do my part to continue the legacy of the Transformers by introducing my 6-year-old son to this awesome franchise.
Oh, what I love Transformers, I think it's just the playability of the toys. Because I was originally a He-Man kid, and I transformed in the Transformers when they came around. I think it was just what you could do. Each character was so much more than what it seemed. You know, you had a robot, you had a vehicle, you had a jet, a plane, a stereo. You know, you had a lot of stuff. You had a lot of playability. You could really use your imagination with the characters, the toys, and I really enjoyed that. And I think that's why it got me hooked. And that's why I think I'm still hooked on these figures, 35 years later. And I'll probably be collecting these guys until the day I die. And I hope that's not any day soon now. I still got more to collect. I got some coming in. I got orders. I got pre-orders.
Now, why do I love Transformers? I think what makes Transformers stand out to me more than any other franchise, whether that's kids franchise, adult franchise, is just it's the imagination that goes into it, right? It's got such a deep lore, which only gets deeper as time goes on. It's got such fascinating characters, such fascinating designs, and that also plays into the engineering side of things, especially in the toy aspect. How the designers can consistently make these toys that have very good looking forms in both their alternate modes, robot modes, whatever it is they have. For the most part, there's some duds here and there, but I've never seen a transforming toy line that really captured that level of sophistication and just believability with the two forms. You've had some transforming toys over the years, but usually they're very lackluster, easily forgettable. Transformers they've always captivated me. I love how they just come up with new ways to reinvent characters, and it just is something I feel I can never really get tired of. I've only taken one real break from collecting, and that was more financial than, boredom or anything. And right now, with everything they got coming out, I just see myself going full steam until the franchise itself runs out of steam, I suppose. Which, hopefully never.
So for me personally, the reason why I'm into the Transformers franchise is because back in 2001, I lost a very dear relative of mine. It was my grandpa, and when he passed away, I was just heartbroken, and I could not believe that he was just gone on like that. My grandfather passed away from cancer, and I was really close to my grandpa. My dad divorced my mom right after I was born. He couldn't stand the idea of being married and having a kid. Because what he wanted to do was just go out, drink alcohol, party around, and enjoy all the fun things in life. And so, if the Worst Dad Ever award existed, my dad would win it for certain. And so when my grandpa passed away from cancer in 2001, I fell into a deep depression. I never thought I was going to get out of it. I had horrible thoughts about myself, health, and life in general. And so my family put me through therapy, and it helped me to overcome the depression. And so, for those of you out there who are uncertain about it, I can say from my own personal experience, therapy does work. It does cure you of your depression. And so, one thing I took away from my therapy sessions was to give life a new outlook, and also to try and consider new possibilities. And so, in my brain, I interpreted the two words, new possibilities, into I reworked the word possibilities into the word new things. And so, one day in 2002, I was flipping through television channels, and all of a sudden I saw this blue and red truck transform into a robot, and I thought, wow, that looks pretty impressive. And so, I managed to find more episodes of it, and then I was amazed to learn that toy action figures of these robots were made. And in the span of several months from 2002 to 2003, I learned who Optimus Prime was, who Megatron was, and thanks to Transformers Armada, I was introduced to the Transformers franchise, and my desire to look at the positives in life and appreciate life, I've in part was the final push for me personally in accepting the possibility that life can be enjoyable and that life is worth living started because of the Optimus Prime and the Transformers. So yes, that's the reason why I love the Transformers, because the Transformers were the last step I took into ending my depression and to appreciating life and everything in it. So I apologize if any of that information was too personal. I didn't know how else to describe the reason why I love the Transformers except to just come out and say it. And as far as I can remember back in 2003, the Optimus Prime, I'm the Armada version of Optimus Prime. Seeing Optimus Prime transform, as far as my memory is working, that was the first Transformers cartoon footage I ever watched, was the Armada version of Optimus Prime transforming from his alternate mode of a semi-truck into his robot mode. And then years later, when I rediscovered my Transformers Generation 2 Optimus Prime action figure, and I finally am now fully aware of who Optimus Prime is that just made me love Optimus Prime even more. So yes, I am grateful that Optimus Prime exists as a fictional character, and I'm really grateful that I've become a permanent lifetime Transformers fan.
Thank you for checking out our content. Before you leave, please remember to click like and then subscribe. If you want to receive notifications, do not forget to enable them by clicking on the bell. Then afterwards, check out our social media and our website.